Hey girlies, welcome to Acrylic Dreams. For my first video, I went a little crazy. We have some of everything in here. We got some ombre, some acrylic flowers, some marble. So if you want to see how I did it, stick around. Let's get into it. Starting off, we have some dehydrator. I'm using Model 1s, and I'm also using the Model 1s nail primer. And then the last thing you will need is some extra bond. This is probably the most important part, some type of protein bond. This one's from me a secret. I got all of this stuff on Amazon. Okay, first step, dehydrator. I feel like when it comes to prep, it was never really clear on which steps to take first. So your first step is dehydrator. If you don't have dehydrator, you can use a ratio of 1:1 with acetone and alcohol. That will give the same effect as the dehydrator, but this is basically just taking all of the natural oils out of your nail to secure the adhesion. Step number 2 is primer. This also takes off natural oils, but it also removes any chance of creating any air bubbles for longer retention. And it also increases the bond between your natural nail and the actual acrylic product, which again, increasing retention. If you can tell, I am making sure to get every square inch of every nail. We're not leaving any nail behind. We want to make sure the acrylic sticks to the entire nail. The last step for prep is going to be the extra bond or the protein bond. If you can see here, I had a little piece of lint in my nail, and I made sure to take that out because that little piece of lint will cause the entire nail to just pop off. When I first started doing acrylic sets, I would only use the dehydrator and the primer, the first 2 steps, and my nails would come off in like 2 weeks. Nothing crazy, but not the best. Once I started using this extra bond from me a secret, my nails started lasting, girl. I'm talking 4 weeks plus. So please use some type of protein bond product in your prep routine. This is my drawing of what my nails are gonna look like. I like it, Picasso. Moving on. These 3 colors, I wanted to use pastels, but I didn't have any, so I used the colors I had and mixed them with white. I'm using Alluring Amethyst from iGel Beauty. It's like a lavender. Cover Natural from Me a Secret. This is the perfect nude for my skin tone. And then this is Me a Secret Clear Acrylic that I'm using to encapsulate. Okay, now for the perfect size bead, put your brush in your monomer and tap it against your dish twice. Now place your brush in your powder at a 45-degree angle to make sure the powder only gets on one side of the brush. You want to gently tap your brush in the powder. Don't drag it, just tap it. This is going to give you the perfect medium-sized bead. I'm going to place this first bead right at my free edge, which is where my natural nail meets the nail extension. This nail is going to be an ombre, and what I'm doing here is really important. You want to blend the top of the bead up towards your natural nail. That's going to help the ombre look a lot more seamless. For this first bead, I'm using very light pressure, and I'm just gently tapping the product to the bottom of the nail. I didn't put on enough product to make it to the bottom of the nail, and that's okay. Around here we use as many beads as we need. You also want to make sure all of your powder gets wet before you place it on your nail. I'm placing that bead right at the edge of my nail, and then I flipped my hand around to let gravity do most of the work. I'm pushing the product up to the tip of the nail, making sure I cover the corners, and then I am gently dragging just the bottom of the bead down and blending it in with the rest of my nails. You'll also see me constantly going through and making sure to swipe those sidewalls like I'm doing now. This is going to preserve whatever shaped nail you're doing, and it's going to make filing a lot easier. Now that the acrylic has been sitting for a while and has had time to dry, I'm going to gently tap the top, drag it down to remove all the excess acrylic and make sure I have a smooth surface. I drag it as far down as I can, and then I take my thumb to cut off the extra acrylic and get my sharp edge back. Moving on to the pinky, this is going to be another ombre. Again, you want to soak your brush, tap it a couple times, and then tap it in your powder at a 45-degree angle. I placed my bead a little bit under my free edge, so I just use my brush to work it up. And again, I'm blending the top of that bead up to my natural nail for a seamless ombre. My main focus is still on these sidewalls. I'm not really worried about the middle of the bead because gravity will do that for me. Your sidewalls really don't need to be that thick. They don't need structure. Once you start making your sidewalls just a little bit thinner, you're going to see the biggest difference in your shape. Another good tip is to always turn your hands to the side so you can make sure you put acrylic on every part of the nail. If it's out of sight, it's out of mind, so make sure you see it. Onto the next finger. This one's not going to be an ombre. This one's going to be just one full color. I'm not gonna lie, this application was a little rough, but it's okay. Both you and I can learn from my mistakes, so let's watch and learn, I guess. I still placed my first bead at my free edge, but what I didn't do was thoroughly blend the top of the bead into my natural nail. I feel like that would have helped a lot, and you're gonna see why in a second. Second of all, this bead was way too big. If I was trying to fill up the rest of my nail with that bead, that would have been fine. But just for the apex, that bead's a little large. Third of all, I didn't blend this bead quick enough for Mia Secret's liking, I guess. So if you can see, there's a line in the middle that separates the two beads. Because of that, I had to go in with an extra bead. This was a smaller bead, and I also made sure to make it a little more wet. And this was just to blend the two beads together. Always turning my nail, looking at it from different angles to make sure everything is smooth. Okay, this is the part that had me in shambles when I was learning to do nails. This is going to be the cuticle. I picked up this bead and immediately put it down because that is way too big for your cuticle. Okay, you want to drain your brush out more than normal, and you want to pick up a medium-sized bead. Never mind, I guess my camera broke, so we're going to move on. We'll get back to that later. This is going to be fun though. This nail is going to be marble. There's not really any rules in this playground. The only rule is to do you. The method I found out works best for me is picking up 2 colors at a time, and you always want to pick up the lighter color first and then dip it in the darker color. In this case, I picked up the orange first and then I dipped it in the pink. You can also take 1 color at a time and just kind of mush it in there. Do as you may, but the only thing is you want to keep these beads very wet to make sure they're very blendable, and you want to make sure your layer is super thin because number 1, we're going to be putting ombre over this, and number 2, we have to encapsulate it in clear, which is going to make it thicker. I also try not to mix my colors too much because then they're going to start blending, and you want to make sure it actually looks like a marble. Alright, for the ombre, I'm about to give you gold right now. I'm about to give you gold. Let's watch first. Let's watch. Let's watch. Bam! Did you see that? Run it back for you. I'll run it back. Just like the marble bead, you want what? Just like the marble, you want to make sure this bead is super wet. Pause. You sit right on top of your last bead. If there's any space in between them, it's just not gonna look right. Immediately, I swipe the middle down before I even touch the sidewalls. I slowed it down real nice so you can see I only swipe the middle of the bead down. This right here is called flooding. The way the acrylic is going on my skin almost, that causes lifting if you let that happen. However, I was willing to do that to get my seamless ombre. Still went and I cleaned it up. I made sure there was no acrylic on my skin because like I said, that can cause lifting and you don't want that to happen. You want to make sure the acrylic around your skin is the thinnest it could possibly be. Now we can finally see the cuticle application I was talking about. Pick up a smaller size bead and you don't want this one to be too wet. It's wet, it's just gonna drench your cuticle area and that's gonna cause a lot of lifting. You don't want to place your bead right at your cuticle. You want to place it like a millimeter away, just like that. Using the very tip of my brush with very light pressure, and again, I'm only blending out the bottom of the bead. I felt like my ombre could be a little better, so I took another really wet bead and I placed it right where that blend starts. Blended the bottom half of the bead down very lightly and I blended the top half of the bead up. Again, turn your nails to the side. Make sure you're getting all parts of the nail. You especially don't want to leave any part of the natural nail behind because that will cause lifting. This flooding right here will also cause lifting, but clean that ish up. My middle finger is also going to be an ombre, so I'm just going to repeat the same steps I just did. Peep how wet my bead is. Anything drier than that, basura. This is going to be a lot of information. Are you ready? This one, I'm going to use one bead for my apex and my cuticle. I'm going to place it a little bit away from my actual cuticle and I'm going to gently push this bead up just a little bit. I'm immediately trying to swipe down those sidewalls to prevent as much flooding as I can. I'm gently blending just the bottom of the bead again to preserve my ombre. Still got some flooding, but just turn your brush sideways and clean it up. You see when I clean it up how it like turns thick? You want to flatten that down. Make sure that part, your cuticle, is as thin as possible to prevent lifting. I don't know how many times I'm gonna say that throughout this video, but that's really your worst enemy. I struggled with lifting for so long because there's just so many techniques and strategies that you have to really understand and master to prevent lifting. It takes time, it takes patience, and it can be frustrating. But if you started a year ago, you would have already been beasting. So start today. And finally, to top the application off, we are encapsulating with clear. When you're doing your ombre, you don't really need to focus on building an apex because you're going to encapsulate with clear anyway. You want to use a wet bead and you also want to use a like a smaller bead. You don't need that much clear. You don't want to make your nails thicker than they have to be. As you can see, I'm really only encapsulating right at the ombre part. You don't need to encapsulate your cuticle or the top color at all. You just need to encapsulate the actual ombre so you don't file it off. I don't know, but something about encapsulating makes the marble just look so good. Clear, I'm doing the same thing that I did with the ombre. I'm blending the top half of the bead up and the bottom half of the bead down. Really important to add a bead at the very tip if you have to make sure the tip is leveled out with the rest of the nail. If not, when you shape it, it's not gonna look as sleek as it should. Before you start filing, you want to make sure your nails are completely dry, and when you hear this sound, you know they're ready. We're gonna start with filing the cuticle, and this is really important because guess what it helps? Preventing lifting. Oh my god, how'd you know? I used to use a regular carbide bit to drill my cuticles, which is this right here. And it wasn't doing much. I'm not gonna lie. I used that one because I was so scared of this bit. Look at the spikes in this bit. I don't remember if this one's from Pana or iGel Beauty, but it's a 5-in-1 medium grit carbide bit. Once I started using this bit to drill my cuticles down, I was on an elevated plane of existence. When I first started using this bit, I was cutting myself. The trick is to use it at 3,000 RPMs. 3,000. Nothing more, nothing less. So, plus just a tiny bit of pressure on your side. Just a tiny bit. Make sure you're getting as close to your cuticle as you possibly can, but try not to touch it because it's gonna cut you. While I'm doing this, I also take off a little bit of the bulk in the apex in case it's a little bulky. Especially with that first nail where I said that application was a little rough. Once you seal the cuticles and bring down the bulk a little bit with this bit, it's gonna make it look a lot better. This is also where you want to encapsulate, because if you didn't while you were drilling down right here, you would have drilled down all your ombre. Time for the hand file. To file the sidewalls, you want to put your file under the nail and then fold it over. That's how you get the perfect square. Just keep filing that. Make sure you show some love to the bottom of the nail too. Attention to detail. This is what's going to make your sets look super sharp. I'm also filing the top right now too. You want to make sure your file is at a 90-degree angle with the tip when you do that.
I just wanna know if you my friend. I just wanna know if you pretending. I know I've been away. I'm just trying to get my mind straight. Don't let it go, let it go. Don't let it slip away. So tonight you should go and take a chance with her. She could be everything you wanted.
I'm making sure all sides of the nail look straight. As you can see, that does not. And boom, bow. That's how you fix that.
Sometimes we laugh, sometimes we cry, but I guess you know now. Baby.
Now, to smoothen the body of the nail, most people do use the sanding carbide bit for this on the e-drill, but I personally like hand filing a little better. I don't know, I feel like it gives sleep. Basically, I'm filing the whole nail until I see the entire thing is white. I don't see any bumps. It's really easy to see with the hand file. The hand file also produces more dust, so it's easier to see if the nail is smooth or not compared to the e-drill. There's not really a method to this madness. I'm filing my life away till my hand cramps up, making sure the whole thing is white. And boom, your nails should look like this. All white, all nice. Let's move on. This nail is gonna be 3D acrylic flowers. It's a little wet just because I put some monomer on it to help the acrylic stick a little better. I want to take a 3D nail art brush. I got mine from my local nail supply, but you can get one off of Amazon. Place the bead where you want your first petal to be, and then just let it sit there for a second and let it dry so that you can actually sculpt it without it moving everywhere. I'm taking the point of the brush and just creating a little line down the middle. Now I'm taking the point of the brush again and just bringing the two edges of the petal up to a point. Boom, now that that's done, take the middle of the brush and just kind of flare the petals out. You want to spread them out a little bit. You see how that one's a little thick? You want to flatten that down. Make sure they're nice and thin.
And that's how I made every single one of these petals. I'm gonna do the same thing about 15 more times, so I'm gonna show love to all my visual learners and just let y'all watch. Enjoy the tones.
This ring here represents my heart, but there's just one thing I need from you. Say I do, because I can see us holding hands, walking on the beach, our toes in the sand. I can see us on the countryside, sitting on the grassland side by side. You could be my baby, let me make you my lady. Girl, you amaze me, ain't gotta do nothing crazy. See, all I want you to do is be my love. So don't give away my love. So don't give away my love. So don't give away. Ain't another woman that can take your spot, my love. So don't give away my love. So don't give away my love. So don't give away. Ain't another woman that can take your spot, my love. Now if I wrote you a love note and made you smile at every word I wrote, what would you do? Would that make you wanna change your scene and wanna be the one on my team? Tell me, would you? See, what's the point in waiting anymore? 'Cause girl, I've never been more sure that baby it's you. This ring here represents my heart and everything that you've been waiting for. Just say I do, because I can see us holding hands, walking on the beach, our toes in the sand. I can see us on the countryside, sitting on the grassland side by side. You could be my baby, let me make you my lady. Girl, you amaze me, ain't gotta do nothing crazy. See, all I want you to do is be my love. So don't give away my love. So don't give away my love. So don't give away. Ain't another woman that can take your spot, my love. So don't give away my love. So don't give away my love. So don't give away. Ain't another woman
your spot, my love. I can see us holding hands, walking on the beach, our toes in the sand. I can see us on the countryside, sitting on the grassland side by side. You could be my baby, let me make you my lady. Girl, you amaze me, ain't gotta do nothing crazy. See, all I want you to do is be my love. My love, my love. Ain't another woman that could take your spot, my love. My love, my love. Ain't another woman that can take your spot, my love.
Baby, you don't know what you do to me. Between me and you, I feel a chemistry. I won't let no one come and take your place. Cause the love you give, it can't be replaced. So no one else will do like you do. That's why I spend my life with you. I won't please you in any way I can. I wanna share my world, don't you understand? Your love is a one in a million. It goes on and on and on. You give all day long. Your love is a one in a million. It goes on and on and on. You give me a really good feeling all day long. Turn me inside out, make my heart speak. Need no one else, you're all I need. Personality, everything you do makes me love everything about you. Your smile, your style, so fly. Can't deny, I got a crush on you, that's true indeed. I'm digging you, you make me believe. Your love is one in a million. It goes on and on and on. You give me a really good feeling. Oh yeah, all day long. Your love is one in a million. It goes on and on and on. You give me a really good feeling all day long.
They just wanna fuck with you. Just they know I fuck with you. If I put my trust in you, what will you do? Will you just step out? Will you duck it out? Will you be here to the end?
Look how pretty.
My friend,
A little montage moment for the masterpiece. Thank you.
I know I've been away.
I know you've heard about the hype behind this product, and the hype is real. I like this product because I always used to use base gel or like nail glue to place my rhinestones, but this product is pretty thick, so it keeps your rhinestones exactly where you place them. Alright, when you figure out where you want your rhinestones to be, you want to take a brush and you just want to smooth out the excess glue that you put on there. If you just stick it in the UV lamp like that, it's going to come out exactly how it looks, bumpy, and we don't want that. By the way, anytime I use gel, I'm going to be curing for about 60 seconds. We did some acrylic marble, but now it's time to do some gel marble. I'm taking a couple colors from Beetles. I got a little Beetles kit off of Amazon with all of these colors. But I'm just taking some spring colors and transferring them onto a gel palette. And the star of the show, Mia's Secret Blooming Gel. I'm taking a good amount of the blooming gel. You don't want the layer to be too thin, but you don't want it to be too thick either, to where it messes up the shape of your nail. And you only really need to put it on the parts where you want the marble to show. This is as simple as it gets. Literally, just take a thin nail art brush, pick up a color, and just make some lines. Literally.
My trust in you. What will you do? You just step back.
Then I started taking the brush and kind of going crazy with it just to marble up the colors a little better. But you don't want to mess with it too much to where the colors are starting to seep together. You still want to be able to tell the difference between each and every color.
So tonight you should go and take a chance with her. She could be everything you wanted, everything you wanted, boy. Don't let
Whoa, whoa, yeah. Sometimes we laugh and sometimes we cry, but I guess you know now, baby. I took a half and she took the whole thing. Slow down. We took a trip, now we on your block, and it's like a ghost town.
my partner in crime, Koopa Gel Top Coat. Right here, I put top coat over the flowers. Number one, to try to lock the flowers in place, and number two, because there was a tiny bit of acrylic above the flowers, but I 1000% regret that. It caused flooding, it caused lifting, my hair was getting caught up under it. It wasn't pretty, it wasn't worth it. Always go back in with a little brush and some acetone and clean up the cuticle area again to prevent lifting. Right now I'm just going back in with some glue because I forgot to do it earlier, and I'm just adding some diamonds to our little flowers. This is what they look like out the lamp. If you can see, this is exactly what I was talking about, where the top coat goes over my pinky nail. Yeah, you don't want that. Cherry on top, you want to go right in with your file after you've cured your top coat and just file the edges a little more. Make sure they're as sharp as possible. Final step, I swear. Now you want to put some cuticle oil. Show love to your cuticles. They've been through a lot today. Moisturize them, give them a little cute massage, and be on your way. As a reminder, this is what my nails were supposed to look like. That was the blueprint, and this is how they came out. Girl, I know that's right. Making this video was super out of my comfort zone, but I really had a lot of fun, so I hope you had fun with me. Thank you so much for watching, and I will definitely see you guys soon. Bye!
Bye-bye!